Hey there! Welcome back to Reddit Dating, best channel for cheating stories. Make sure to like and subscribe the channel for more spicy stories.
My wife of 5 years has been cheating on me, but my badass lawyer served her right. Original story. My wife, 34, and I, 32. Wendy met through mutual acquaintances 7 years ago, dated for 2 years, and have been married for 5 years, just after I finished law school. For the first 2 years of our marriage, I worked as an associate at my firm, putting in 60 hours per week. That hard work has paid off, and I am doing well professionally. Wendy was a teacher at a private school before we married, but she quit to pursue her master's degree in education and is now enrolled in an educational doctoral program while working part-time. This was a bit of a financial strain because I wanted to pay off my student loans as soon as possible, but we made it work. When we first started dating, my wife was using an ancient laptop. It was in a box in a closet, which I discovered. She stated that it had crashed and would no longer function. I plugged it in and attempted to turn it on. Nothing. Wendy took pictures of everything when we first met, especially selfies of herself with others. I ripped out the hard drive and went through it, knowing she had some images of us from that period. It appeared to be fine. The issue has to be somewhere else. I waited until she left to go visit her sister before plugging it into a SATA cable connected to my PC, wanting to surprise her with images from when we first started dating. There were photographs there. There are numerous photographs. Some pictures were of us on dates, laughing and smiling. They brought back a lot of happy memories. However, there were additional photos of her with various people. I recall one person in particular. Bob was his name, and Wendy had dated him before me. There were numerous photographs of her and Bob. I wanted to take only our pictures, so I figured the simplest way would be to categorize them by date, assuming that the most recent pictures would be of just us. However, when I sorted them by date, many of her photos with Bob were mixed in with photos of us. I started going through the images one by one and discovered that in a few of her pictures with Bob, where they were hugging and kissing, she was wearing a necklace/locket that I had bought her for her birthday the second year we were dating. I had to borrow money from my brother to purchase it. When I looked at the dates on the photographs, I saw a pattern. When she went to her mother's house, or her sister's place, to offer me quiet on days and weekends when school required my complete attention, she was hooking up with Bob behind my back. I was enraged. It seemed like though fire ants were gnawing on my brain, heart, and guts. I was about to punch through the barriers when something snapped and I felt numb. I started seeing and thinking in very cold, analytical terms. I copied all of her photos, not just the ones I'd seen, on a flash drive. I packed a bag, got some suits, took the thumb drive, and drove across town to stay with my brother. I left her laptop hard drive connected to my PC, with a photo of her kissing Bob on the monitor. The only reminder I left was a sticky note with an arrow pointing to the necklace/locket. Wendy attempted to phone me from her mother's place if she was there, but I did not answer. It wasn't until a few hours later, when she likely returned to our apartment and saw the image on the display, that she bombarded my phone with VM and texts. They were all ignored by me. I've already discussed separation and divorce with another associate in the family law section. We don't have any children or real estate because most of our money was spent on repaying my student loans and paying for her schooling. My company has wrapped the wagons around me, so her calls are routed to VM. She is not permitted on the property. Security already turned her away. Wendy found me at my brother's house, but he told her over the phone that if she came over, he'd set his Dobermans on her. He said she was yelling, sobbing, and pleading over the phone. It did not make me sad or pleased in any way. I didn't feel anything. My marriage has ended. That's something I've accepted. But it's been 2 days, and I'm still not feeling anything. There is no discomfort. There is no rage. Nothing. How is it possible that I no longer have feelings for her, that I have no want to see her again, that I have no desire to reconcile? Feeling nothing for her now that I'm alone with my thoughts frightens me. Is this something that will last? Is it possible that I'm still in shock? Is it permanent that I'm broken? On the plus side, I've never seen clearer solutions in my cases. Update. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone for their responses. I'm overwhelmed by the nice reactions and want to thank everyone who has shared their numbness with me. It's comforting to know that this is a normal reaction. I'll look into individual counseling as soon as possible. The colleague at my firm who is managing my case, let's call her Gail, went through the other photos on the flash drive and discovered several where Wendy is cuddling/kissing Bob, and the engagement ring I gave her is clearly visible. When I was told this, I didn't feel any grief or resentment. Instead, I felt elated. I cracked a grin. Surprisingly, I questioned Gail why this terrible news made me so joyful. She explained that it is because it vindicates every action I performed since leaving. I've been NC with Wendy, and all communications have gone through Gail, with the exception of her relatives and friends who incorrectly believe my brother and his wife will be sympathetic ears. They aren't. Gail has already created a separation agreement and has a meeting with Wendy arranged for Thursday afternoon. Gail informed Wendy that if she is not represented by counsel, I will not attend. Gail deserves a special mention. I can't give her a firm nickname, but if you think Pit Viper, you'll get the picture. I'm thankful she's on my side. We'll file the divorce petition soon. Gail feels any spousal assistance will be low and temporary. She predicts I'll be stuck paying the rent for the next 5 months until our lease expires and Wendy finishes the remainder of her doctoral classes. Our only big asset is a savings account for a down payment on a house, but it's a dual signature account with no ATM access. Thank you, long-forgotten bank guy, for proposing it as an extra security measure against fraud. When Wendy was meant to be at her part-time work, my SIL went over to my place to get more of my clothes and personal items. She wound up listening to Wendy for several hours. Wendy would lie about almost anything, according to the Redditor who said so. Wendy was repeating one easily proven lie after another while SIL was packing up my belongings. Wendy, frustrated by the lack of progress, asked SIL, "Isn't there a guy in your background that simply gets inside your skull and you can't say no?" So I guess that's my explanation for why she cheated. Bob is a Jedi and Wendy is a wuss. By the way, SIL did respond to her query, saying, "Yes, I married him." Spending time with my brother's family has helped me to feel less lonely. My nephews are annihilating me in every video game, and I'm loving every minute of it. Work is going well, and the partner in charge of my department came by to tell me that he's proud of how I haven't let my personal situation interfere with my work. That's all I got for now. Thank you to everyone who responded with encouraging comments. I can't express how much it helps to know I'm not the only one who feels this way, or how apathetic I am about my soon-to-be ex-wife. Additional information. Wendy was able to locate a lawyer, Todd. Gail and I met with them at another firm on neutral ground. We all had to wear masks due to COVID, which made it look like we were there to rob the place or something. It was the first time I'd seen Wendy since she'd gone to her sister's/house. Mother's Wendy appeared to be from hell. Bloodshot eyes. Heavy bags beneath the eyes. Her makeup had been smudged by a tear. Hives coated the skin of her neck. When I gazed at her, I felt nothing. More on that later. Wendy shouted out that she was sorry for everything, that she loved me, that she couldn't live without me, that this was all a mistake, all the usual nonsense. She attempted to hug me, but Gail stepped in between us and urged Todd to tell Wendy that she is not to speak directly to me or Gail, but rather to Todd, who will speak to Gail, who will speak to me. Gail had instructed me to remain silent and maintain a blank expression on my face. I expected this to be difficult since I was concerned that my initial rage might return, but it didn't. I was still numb, in a trance, as if I were having an out-of-body experience. Todd inquired about restitution. Gail stated unequivocally that we were there to go over the separation agreement. There is nothing else. Wendy raged at me, saying that we'd been married for 5 years and that I shouldn't throw it all away because of a mistake. Todd was cautioned by Gail that Wendy was not to speak to me personally. Todd said something to Wendy, and she regained control for a little moment. Gail and Todd started talking about the separation agreement she'd emailed him. Todd said he did, but it wasn't fair to Wendy. He tried to nitpick, presumably to show Wendy that he was doing something to earn his fee, but Gail refuted every argument he made until he agreed that it was as fair as the law required. Wendy stated that none of this is fair and that it's all a mistake. Gail distributed black and white printouts of all the photographs from the flash drive across the table, including one of Wendy hugging Bob where her engagement ring is visible. Gail highlighted the ring in each image with a large fat, dark red marker, alpha move, by the way, asking Todd each time, "Does your customer feel this was an error?" So, how about this? Was this a blunder? No. How about this? Wendy sank back into her chair and ugly cried. Gail and Todd began talking about timetables for the delivery of a written settlement agreement and other future issues. Wendy yelled out, absolutely unprompted, that she never cheated during the marriage. So I assume my silent apathy finally got to her. Gail was having none of it, telling Todd, "Tell your client to give me her cell phone. If your client hasn't cheated on her husband, she won't mind if my IT guy copies everything on it and downloads anything in any internet accounts she's logged into. I'll get him here in 10 minutes." Wendy held her phone with both hands, refusing to give it up. Todd spoke something to Wendy in hushed tones. I'm very sure he informed her she had just admitted to infidelity. More sobbing is in order. Under my mask, I grinned but said nothing. I felt horrible for Todd at this moment. Call it professional empathy. I've been in his shoes. You've got a loser case with a loser client. The other attorney is from 1982 to 1986. You're a second-string high school goalie with a slow glove hand, and Wayne Gretzky is your idol. You simply want the savagery to stop. After the meeting, I departed without saying anything to Wendy. What's the point? Every word she says is going to be a lie. Yesterday afternoon, Gail received the signed separation agreement. I expected to be responsible for the rent until June, if only to protect my credit. But instead we're going to divide the home down payment savings account evenly. This was the carrot to get Wendy to sign the separation agreement so quickly. Wendy will pay her own rent, as well as all utilities, beginning this month. She'll have a little money left over after covering her housing and education expenses, enough to move to a new place. Wendy considers this a victory, but it's a tactical move that eliminates the one important asset we have. Divorce will be much easier today. Gail is preparing an uncontested divorce petition, so we won't even have to go to court. The best part is, it turns out that while we were in our 5th year of marriage, we hadn't actually been married for 5 years. 4.5 years and 7 months. In our state, if a marriage has lasted less than 5 years, the family court will usually seek rescission, a concept borrowed from contract law. This indicates that the court will return the parties to their pre-agreement financial situation, or in our instance, pre-marriage financial situation. I was a jobless, deeply indebted law school graduate waiting for my bar results at the time of our marriage, while Wendy was a full-time, game-ready teacher. Wendy can't argue that rescission isn't appropriate in her case because she has no real property, no children, a bank account full of money, a teaching credential, a graduate degree in hand, and a PhD degree on the way. In a nutshell, no alimony. Gail did tell Todd that if Wendy filed for divorce, the first person she'd depose would be Bob. Wendy agreed not to dispute the divorce. Todd said, "If everything goes as planned, I'll be putting this tragic chapter of my life behind me in 3 months." I still had no feelings for Wendy, but that no longer bothers me. The Redditor who stated that it was because the Wendy I dated/married did not exist was correct. Sir, you are wise. Wendy, the woman I dated, fell in love with, and married, did not exist. The guy who cheated on me and lied to me is an unknown to me. Our entire relationship was a ruse, an intricate Plan B deception that benefited her at the expense of mine. I believe my perspective is partly influenced by my first real job between college and law school, which was in commission sales. There was a saying that stuck with us: it takes a lot of no's to get one yes, so don't worry about the no's, don't waste your time and effort on them, and you'll find your yeses a lot faster and easier. Wendy was a no, and I'd already squandered too much time and effort on her, so no more. Friends, relatives, and coworkers have noticed that my smile has returned, and to be honest, I am feeling better than I have in years. But just to be cautious, I've scheduled a couple phone/video sessions with a therapist. We'll see how things proceed. This will most likely be my final update. Thank you all again for your help and advice. If I may repay your wonderful advice with some of my own. If your spouse cheats on you, consult with a lawyer as soon as possible, and then listen to what your lawyer advises you to do.